Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. This is the first segment of a new research bootcamp series that we have on commercialization, innovation, and translation. And so we're excited to be working with some new offices around campus on this initiative with Research Bootcamp. And I'm going to start off with introducing you to Richard Giersch, and he will then kind of tell you a little bit more about the series, and our additional speaker, Dr. Bruce Sparks. So Rich is the Associate Director of Venture Development and was born and raised in West Virginia. After graduating from WVU, he attended UNC Chapel Hill for graduate school. He has held director-level positions at 2 venture capital firms, was the chief operating officer of a startup biotech company in Research Triangle Park, North Carolina, and the chief scientific officer for the New Jersey Center for Biomaterials. He has helped companies secure over $100 million in federal funding, tax and relocation incentives, and has helped start West Virginia-based life science startup SaraDX. Okay, I always say SaraDX. It's SaraDX, which is focused on developing precision diagnostics for brain injury. So, Rich, welcome.
Thank you. So I'm really excited about the position that I've taken. I started back in September in this role and immediately started working with Bruce and Fred Manier had approached me shortly after I started about putting together this series for the CTSI. And so we are looking at a 4-part series, and this is the first of them. The next is going to be led by Tom McClellan, and he's focusing on bioinnovation and entrepreneurship and talking about navigating successes and the challenges. And then we're very fortunate to have Pravin Chaturvedi coming in talking about funding the dream. And so Pravin is a WVU alum and regularly returns here to work with life science innovators and others across the university. And the fourth is talking about commercialization and sort of the life and experiences of a life science entrepreneur from the scientific founder's perspective. And we have waiting on confirmation for the speaker for that, but very excited about the likelihood of who's going to be talking on it. One of the other initiatives that is going to be taking place in Morgantown this year is April 21st and 22nd. We're going to have the West Virginia Bio Summit here. And that's going to be the first time that this has happened. And in conjunction with that, we're going to marry the West Virginia Bio Summit with the Link poster session. And so it's going to give innovators across WVU's Health Science campus a chance to get their research in front of a much larger audience of West Virginia policymakers, as well as funders and industry partners that are looking to have collaborators inside academic institutions. And so the first announcement's gone out from the West Virginia Bioscience Association executive director on that, and we're going to be circulating that invitation out to all of the Link participants. And if you don't happen to get it and you're interested in it, you can certainly contact me. One of the other things that I'm working on is a Life Science Innovation Day. And that's going to be taking place in the spring of 2016, so 1 year from now. We're starting planning for that now. But that's basically going to be an entire day where we're working with the innovators across the health sciences campus and other life science researchers at WVU to put together research presentations, bring technology scouts and people seeking partnerships from industry into WVU, and those that are interested researchers on campus, we'll send them into your labs. You'll have a chance to talk with them one-on-one, and you'll be able to basically form linkages and partnerships. There'll be a matchmaking, what you're interested in, what industry is interested in, and really driving the tech scouts from industry deeper into the labs at WVU. So that's something that we're super excited about, and we've gotten some great feedback from industry partners on that. And then finally, there's a course that I'm working on that's going to be part of the CTSI certificate program, and that's going to be based on a program that I helped develop and deliver for the New York Academy of Sciences, and that course was from idea to IPO. But the focus of this is a similar type concept, but this is from idea to translation. And so what do you do once you do have an idea and it is there's a provisional patent filed? What are the steps that you would take to help find an appropriate partner to take this to a clinic or a clinical environment or to a commercial environment? And how can the resources at WVU help you do that? So the four main areas that I'm really focusing on and will be focusing on are education, industry outreach, venture development, and IP protection. And so that gets us to the point of this discussion, which is IP protection. And Bruce Sparks is going to be talking with us. He's the Director of Technology Transfer. And he's going to be talking with us about the very nuts and bolts of, so you have an idea. It's a unique idea. What do you do to protect it? And how can you work with us to make sure that it reaches the broadest possible audience? So Bruce, thank you very much, and looking forward.
I'm going to have to figure out how to put this on because I told Rich there was no way I was putting a tie on today. It's just too cold out there. Okay, before I start, I want to know where everybody's from. What's your background? How many students? Grad students? Wow, okay. How many faculty? Okay. How many nursing? I got you. Somebody told me there was some nursing here. I talked to Dottie actually the other day, and Dottie and I have been conversing a lot about your program, and I want to get more involved with what you all are doing because I think there's a lot of things that we can put together with the nursing program. See, Dr. Mustafa and Dr. Dillon just walked in, so we're glad to have you all with us today also. So it looks like we're more students today than anything else, so I will try to make my comments to you and as well as the faculty. Now, from a student perspective, how many of you plan to stay in academic research or in academic medical? How many of you plan to go to private practice? How many of you plan to go into private industry? Okay, that's important. Now I know what I'm dealing with. So I'll try to keep the comments to where I address all of your issues. The one thing that you're looking at here is basically what we're trying to say is it takes a lot of ideas to go in to put together one small economic coin to come out. Every idea does not come out and produce money. So what we want to talk about today is what are the processes, what are the things we need to do to be successful when we talk about innovation. So here's the outline I would like to talk about. There's 5 points. First of all, know the university intellectual property policy. For those of you who are students, instead of university, know your company's intellectual property policy. You could put company, university in any of these slides, and when there's a little bit of a difference, I'll tell you what that difference is. Plan your research. It's very important. Protect your research. Secure the intellectual property protection, and then decide a commercialization path. These are the 5 areas that we want to look at. Now, we'll go into each one of these in detail. First, let's talk about knowing the university policy. Know who owns the intellectual property that you created. If you work for West Virginia University and you are a faculty member, now this is not true for nursing, okay, so I'm going to try to make sure we understand this. It is true for all faculty members, all members of the medical school staff, and any student that is working in the lab of a faculty member doing research at West Virginia University. The university will own your intellectual property. In the case of those of you who are going to go to a private company, I've been the CEO and president of 2 private companies. I can tell you that if you worked for me, I owned your research, I owned everything you developed. The first day you go to work, when you start signing all of the forms that HR put in front of you, you better read what they say, because they will tell you who owns the intellectual property. My son just went to work for Priceline.com, and he and I were working on an idea for hotel management. And we had to, before he signed all of his paperwork, we had to go and get a deviation from their paperwork on all previous things that we had been working on, so that he didn't run into the problem of Priceline owning that intellectual property. So you have to be careful and know who owns that intellectual property. For you in the nursing side, I'm going to be honest with you, the hospital intellectual property policy is not something I know real well. It's not something that's published, but I think the hospital, Glenn, do you know this? I need to ask Bob O'Neill. And if you think about it, if you all can ask Dottie, I think it would be very good for you, or whoever's in charge of your unit, ask to get a copy of the intellectual property policy for the hospital, because the hospital is separate from the university. Okay, the other thing you got to be aware of is when you sign a research grant, there are rights in that research grant to the intellectual property in many cases. For example, NIH, NSF will reserve powers that they can take your research, your intellectual property, and use it for their purposes. It may be that they can only use it for research. It may be they can only use it for certain things in teaching. But a lot of times they have the rights. If it's Department of Defense, they can use it for anything that is for the defense of this country. So all I want you to make sure you understand, you think you're developing something really cool and you're going to go out and sell it for $1 million a day, you may not have the rights. So make sure you know who has the rights. The next thing is, know what forms need to be filed with the university/company. In the case of the university, we have an invention disclosure form that needs to be filled out and sent to my office so that we can start the process for your intellectual property protection. I will give you at the end of this presentation all of our websites, all of our contact information, so that when you want to get this form, you can go straight to our website. You can pull the form up. It is interactive. You can fill it out right online, and you can send it to me as a PDF. The only thing that we have to have, because the Patent and Trademark Office still requires a wet signature on the assignment forms. And it also requires a wet signature on the notary forms. So we still have to have originals, but you can file it with our office online, and we don't have to worry about it. We can get this process started. Again, I'm working with the hospital. I've talked with Albert, and I've talked with Bob, and we're working on what do we do next to make sure we can get something moving forward. Know the intellectual property rights of the research sponsor. Like I said, NIH, NSF, DOD all have different rights built into their grants. The thing that you get into with private partners for research. Now, this is very important, not so much in the medical field. Well, I guess it is. When we start talking about some of the pharma companies, they want to own everything. They may come in and say, we will give you $3 million to do research on this particular compound, and at the end, we own everything. So we have to be careful. Now, one of the things that the Office of Sponsored Programs, this is not my office, but the Office of Sponsored Programs will do for you, is they will work with my office to negotiate the best intellectual property terms that we possibly can so that you can maintain your rights to the intellectual property. Planning your research. This is very important. What is the end goal of your research? Now, I'm just going to pick on you all because you're in the front. If you're working on a research project for nursing, and it's something for to be utilized in a patient room, when you start looking at the goal of that research, the first thing you're going to do is look to see, how do I make the patient experience better? How do I make the nurse's ability to get something done better? How do I make these things happen? Now, there are some very important things when you look at research and intellectual property to decide whether or not we can commercialize. You want to know what the research problem is that you're trying to solve. And you want to be very clear about that research problem. We have a lot of faculty across campus, and I don't mean this in a bad way, because research on a college campus is meant to be just exploratory, to look at a lot of things. A lot of faculty members start down a research path, but they don't have an end goal. They're not trying to come up with a product. They're not trying to come up with a means of making something better. They're just trying to research something. But if you want to do intellectual property, you need to know what the problem is that you're solving with your research. Then you need to know, can the problem be solved utilizing existing technology? Excuse me. If there is existing technology that solves the same problem, you need to do some things different than just normal research. It's not that I have something that is better in my mind. It's not something that is easier to use. The main thing that most companies are going to look at that's going to buy this technology is it cheaper? Better is not always what they're looking for. Some of them are just looking for cheap. So you've got to understand the market and what that particular group is looking for. Now, we will help you understand that. We will help you get to the bottom of those kind of things. What is the cost or complexity to develop the solution? Had a faculty member in engineering came to me a couple of years ago, and he had a new device that was really interesting. Everybody really enjoyed what it was. The problem was it cost twice as much as the current existing solution. Now, when we sat down and looked at that cost versus the benefit, it just didn't work. So we never were able to find a market to take that out. I'm working actually right now with someone here on Health Sciences campus to develop a device. I got to be careful how I say this because we don't have any real definitive what we're headed for here. But it's a device in radiology that will measure things better for the radiologist. We brought engineering in because it was really an engineering solution. Now, my problem came when I got the two departments together. They couldn't agree on how to go forward. Engineering wanted to go one way. Radiology wanted to go another way. We still haven't done anything. I still hope we're going to be able to do that one, but it's something that you got to think about. The next thing is, do you need approval from a federal agency? I was working, I had a fellow from the ag school sent me an invention disclosure 2 years ago. And when he came to my office, we sat down with him, and the person that I had review it from the external side brought to my attention that this person was actually making LSD. He really wasn't producing LSD for marketing, but his product was so close to LSD that he had to have a DEA permit to run his lab, and he didn't have it. So we pointed out to him that if you don't get this permit, you're going to get shut down. Well, luckily, he was able to get it very quickly, but he never thought about checking what he was working on and how that was affected by federal agencies. So make sure you know what those are, because once we go out and we start talking to people, that's going to come up, and they may come in and shut you down. Protecting your research. Do not make a public disclosure. What's a public disclosure? Public disclosure means that you, as an individual inventor, you go out and you talk to someone that is skilled in the art to make what you are trying to develop, and you disclose enough information that that person can reproduce your invention. Okay, that's about as simple as I can make it. If they can take what you just told them and they can reproduce what you're doing, that's a public disclosure. Now, public disclosures are very hard to look at sometimes, because if you have a poster and you put a poster in the hallway outside of your office that describes the invention, and it describes it in enough detail that somebody can reproduce it, that's a public disclosure. So how do you fix that? You get a signed non-disclosure agreement between the parties before you disclose it to them. We will put that together for you. We will negotiate it for you. We will get it signed for you. And basically what that says is that all the information you are going to disclose to them is proprietary and that they do not have a right to use it during a certain period of time. If, in the case of nursing or in the case of students, if you want our non-disclosure agreement, when we get to the end and you see our website for tech transfer, there are two types of non-disclosure agreements on that website. The first one is a mutual non-disclosure agreement that protects both parties. There is another one that is one way that only protects you for what you're giving to them. So feel free to download those. It's a Word document. Fill it in however you need to make it work. Know who has the authority to sign agreements on behalf of the university. I can't tell you how many faculty members sign these agreements and they don't have the authority. There are very few people on campus that have the authority to bind the university. I had it happen again last week. This one wasn't health sciences. This was across campus where a faculty member signed a non-disclosure agreement on behalf of the university, and the company called me and I said, you don't have anything. We have to go back and redo the agreement. The same thing will be true with the companies you go to work for. Know who has the right to bind the company for any agreements that are signed. If you sign an agreement on behalf of WVU and you do not have the right, you are personally liable. Personally liable. So be sure you know. Securing the intellectual property protection. Know the process for filing for protection here at the university. Again, go to our website, download the invention disclosure form, complete the form. It'll tell you exactly where to send it. If you can't find the form, or if you just don't want to go look for the website, contact me or anybody. Contact Rich, contact Arian, contact anybody. We will get that form to you. Rich and Arian will also help you fill it out. I'm volunteering their services. Actually, Rich and Arian are here dedicated to the health science campus. They are here to help in any way possible with intellectual property, so feel free to contact them. Work with the university to file either a patent, a copyright, or to form what we call a trade secret. Now, let's talk about each of these and what are the benefits of each one. First, the patent. The patent is a monopoly, is the best way to describe a patent, on the intellectual property that you have created that has been approved by the Patent and Trademark Office. That monopoly is 10 years from the date you first file with the Patent and Trademark Office. Now here's the catch. Do any of you all know what happened on March 16th of 2 years ago? We became a first-to-file country. The United States was the last country in the world to become first to file. We used to be first to invent. And that meant if you could prove that you invented something first, you got the rights to the patent. That's not true anymore. We are now, along with the rest of the world, a first to file. So if you invent something in your lab and you go talk about it to other people and they file the patent, they get the patent. There are some protections in there if you present at a conference, though. If you present at a conference and somebody goes out the next day and files a patent based upon what you presented at the conference, and we can prove that they did not have the background or the knowledge to do that, they just learned things at the conference, then we can still get ahead of them. So there are still a few protections, but we are a first to invent country. The patent is good for 20 years. There are two types of patent filings. The first is a provisional patent application. Too many people get this wrong. It's not a provisional patent. It's a provisional patent application. Basically what the provisional patent application is you've now created something that in nursing is going to be new tubing for an IV. And we file and we have enough information on that application to give the Patent and Trademark Office the claims that we are trying to claim in our patent. And because it's a provisional application, it is not published. It is not disclosed publicly in any way. And you have 1 year from the date you file with the Patent and Trademark Office to convert that provisional application to what we call a utility patent. The utility patent basically would be the final patent language with all of the final claims. The reason you would file a provisional application is because, one, since we are a first to file country, you want to get that timestamp to where you are first in line. So it gives you 1 year from that date to get all of your claims finalized in the lab so that you are fully protected in the final patent. This is something that a lot of people don't understand. If you file your provisional application and you make no public disclosures and you're not afraid that somebody else is going to file in front of you, you can file a new provisional patent application at any time before the first public disclosure and still be protected. In fact, the date of public disclosure, you have 1 year from that date to file a provisional patent to be protected in the United States. However, you do lose all foreign patent rights. So if, excuse me, if you want to protect your foreign rights, you have to file the provisional before you make a public disclosure. If you're only interested in the U.S., you have 1 year from the date of public disclosure before you have to file a provisional or a utility. You have 20 years from that date of protection under the patent. Filing cost here in the United States to file a U.S. provisional patent is going to be somewhere between $1,000 and $3,500, depending upon how good of one you want to file and who you're going to use. That's sort of the range. To file a non-provisional utility application is going to be somewhere between $7,500 and $20,000, depending upon the number of claims and depending upon the complexity. A lot of times, if you work with the right patent attorney and they file the provisional patent for you, the provisional application, you will normally, whatever you spend on that provisional will come off the cost of the non-provisional. So the utility patent will be reduced by the cost of the provisional. Now, what can you do with that? You can do the same thing you can with a copyright or a trademark. You can go out and you can commercialize that. You can sell it. It's your property. Let's talk about a copyright. A copyright, a lot of people think copyrights are a bad thing. Copyright's actually better than a patent if it'll fully protect you, because a copyright's actually good for 75 years as opposed to 20. Or it's actually 75 years from the date of your death, if I remember right. I'm getting confused now on the dates, but you got a long time with a copyright that you don't have on a patent. In fact, none of us are going to outlive our copyrights, because most of us aren't going to have a copyright before we're 10 or 11, and most of us aren't going to live past 80, 90 years old. So copyrights are actually good for us in length. They can be sold, they can be licensed the same as a patent. A trade secret is the same thing. The difference between a trade secret, a copyright, and a patent is the trade secret is just something you never disclose to anybody. What do you think the most famous trade secret is? KFC. What else? KFC is a big one. What else? Coca-Cola. What else? Pepsi. All of them are trade secrets. Now, if you want to have a trade secret, and we do have a couple here on campus, the date we decide that we're going to go forward with the trade secret, I have a lot of forms that I have to get filed and signed by everybody in your lab, everybody who knows anything about that trade secret. And then we have to lock it away. We have to show proprietary sources and how it is protected. And the day that protection goes away, the day that source of protection goes away, is the date that you lose your trade secret. It's cheaper. It's somewhat easier, but you've got to make sure that you protect that information at all costs. Now, let's talk about some examples here of some of the things that have happened on campus, good and bad, because we've had some that are somewhat successful, some that aren't, some that are moving forward in the success category. From a copyright standpoint, I had a faculty member in physical education. She was a faculty member here, had taught for 30 years, had developed all of this material on young children and how to educate young children in certain movements and certain types of activity. She came to me, she had started a company. We copyrighted all of the material. We licensed all of the material to her. The thing that she had forgotten to do, though, she had CDs, she had DVDs, she had music written, she had lyrics written, she had dance movements done. All of these things were done and already printed. The problem is she had no agreement with the lyricist. She had no agreement with the musician. She had no agreement with the choreographer. She had no agreement with the people who put the whole package together and did the, drawing a blank, the graphic artist. So we had to go back now and get agreements with all of these folks that said you get 1/10 of a cent for every copy sold. You get 2/10 of a cent for every copy sold. We put all of those agreements together, and she built a company here in Morgantown that was doing revenue of over $1 million a year, just on the material she had made and put together in her classroom work. Her profit margin on that particular material was phenomenal. Profit margin was somewhere in the range of 45%. Profit margin's the key. You can sell anything for whatever price you can, but if you're not making a profit on it, you don't want to be in business. But just think, if she was selling something for $1,000, she was making $450 on it. The point was, she took all of her material, we did the right things, we put it together, and that company went forward. So copyrights can be successful. We actually do some copyrights here on the medical science campus for diabetes. We do it for eye exams. And they are basically charts that we copyright and we put out there in the marketplace. Let's go to patents. I have a couple of them. We have one in chemical engineering that was a coal liquefaction product that would take coal, liquefy it into certain fuels. We found a company in Australia and Canada that was willing to license the product. They committed up to $50 million for additional research and to build a pilot plant. They paid us $100,000 a year in advance minimum royalties, and then the product was theirs to go and do what they wanted to do with it. Now, here's the key. What does this mean to you if we have a product that we're able to sell? I want somebody to volunteer. Who will volunteer? Somebody volunteer to come down here and help me. So, okay, come on down. Now the rest of you are going to be mad because you didn't volunteer because this involves money. And what is your name? Megan. And what's your field of study?
Epidemiology.
Okay, in epidemiology. This is 25 $2 bills. Now that is the royalties that we got off of Megan's research. Now, what happens is when these royalties come into the university, the first 20% goes to the college that you work for, 10% to the college, 10% to the department, 40% to the university, 40% to you personally. Now, We withhold from that what it cost us to get the patent application filed. So we're going to, in this case, it cost me $10 to file the patent. So give me 5 of the $2 bills. So the first $10 comes back to the university to pay for the patent. So she's got $40 left. The first 10% of that goes to your department, and that would be, I don't know what epidemic, School of Medicine or School of Public Health. Okay, School of Public Health is going to get 10%, so $4. No, just 2. They're $2 bills. So School of Public, excuse me, School of Public Health gets $2. We paid for the patent with 10. Now the medical school is going to get 10%, so they get $4. So 2 more. Now, you have left $32. Half of that goes to the university, and half stays with you. So give me 8 of the 2s, and then you keep 8. And that's what I give you for being my volunteer. Thank you. So thank you very much. So, now I'm going to make sure this is my personal money. I'm not going to let you miscount. The point I'm trying to make here is there is a way for you to make money from the university and will be out of your own companies that you work for in the future. They will give you a portion of the revenue that comes from your intellectual property. At the university, we right now give 40% to the inventor. In the case of the liquefaction technology, I was writing a check for $40,000 a year to the inventors. And if those royalties ever go higher than that, they still get 40% of it. There is money to be made here. Now, how can we do it other than just a royalty? Let's talk about the commercialization path. After we have the disclosure in-house, we will send it to an external company to have it assessed to look at the commercialization to see what's the best way to commercialize it. Is it best to go out and sell it? Is it best to work with a company that's already in business? Is it best for you to start a company? We will review that commercialization assessment with the inventors to make sure we didn't miss anything. This commercialization assessment can be anywhere from 5 pages. I've seen them as high as 25 pages. There will be a committee that will review it after we have got the commercialization assessment finished and you have agreed with it and we've agreed with it. We will review it to determine whether WVU wants to patent, copyright, or to return it to the inventors based upon the potential commercial success. If we decide to patent or copyright, we will negotiate a license or a sale of the technology. If that happens, then just as Megan saw, she can get money back from her invention. This is our contact information. If you want one of these particular documents, just go to this website. All of the documents will be in a forms section on the side. Click on the forms and you'll find the non-disclosure agreement. You'll find the invention disclosure form. You'll find any form that you need to file with us. This is our website or our email site for everybody here. If you send an email to the techtransfer@mail.wvu.edu, it goes to our admin assistant. She will then decide who it needs to go to in our group to get back to you to help. This is my email address and Rich's email. Gary handles our engineering. Gary is also the export control officer here on WVU's campus, but I have him for 20% of his time to help us with engineering. Katie Capillari is our legal person to help us with documents, and Tomoko Fujiwara is our administrative assistant. Our goal is to turn documents around quickly. I'm not going to guarantee you we're going to turn them all around in 24 hours. Our goal is to get them out as quickly as we can. There are a myriad of problems that can exist. The only thing I ask, and I'm going to give you my cell phone. We now have, it used to just be 2 of us in the office, so I could put a lot of information on here. My cell phone number is 304-288-7053. You can call me anytime, day or night, weekend. I turn it off at 11 o'clock at night. I turn it back on at 7 in the morning. So I don't answer between 11 and 7. I apologize. But I will answer your emails at that time. One of the things you'll find is I do work a lot at night. The point is, if we do not get back to you, something can happen. I'm not going to lie. There's a lot of things that can go wrong, and we lose it. Something gets put in the wrong pile. Call. Send us another email. You will not hurt our feelings by saying, Bruce, I haven't heard from you. What's going on? Jamal does it all the time. It's not a problem. I don't have a problem. Yeah. So feel free to do it. It's not an issue for me. You can't hurt my feelings. That's not a problem. I'm very thick-skinned. But here's the key. If we're going to go forward as a group, I used to be the president and CEO of a coal company. I have seen this happen, where you start on one side of the tunnel and the other side of the tunnel with tracks, and they don't meet up because the engineers didn't work together. I saw this happen 400 feet underground one time, where I was cutting through a 200-foot face of rock, and we were off 2 inches. You know what happens when you've got a track that's off 2 inches? I'll tell you what happens. It cost us almost 70 grand to fix it, because we had to go back and shave off that tunnel so we could change the angle. That's what happens when people don't work together. Now, what do you think I did to those people who screwed up? I wasn't real happy. The point here is, we can be successful at WVU, but we all have to work together. It's the same as if you're a student, the same as if you're a faculty member. We all have to work together. We have to communicate. Rich and Ariane are here to communicate with you. They're here to help you. And I apologize, I did not have Ariane's email in there because I quite frankly didn't have enough room to put it on there last night. But Ariane, if you can give them, what's your email address?
EPEDERS1.
Okay, EPEDERS1 at mix.wvu.edu. Call us. Let us know how we can help you. We can't help you if we don't know you've got something to work on. I'll give you an example of something that's going on. This will be my last example. I've got a fella in the ophthalmology department here who came to us about 6-8 months ago. He's trying to revise an instrument that's used for eye surgery. This instrument's been used in this particular surgery for almost 20 years. No revisions. It works fine. Everybody's happy with it, but he's found a way to make it better. The problem is he needs LEDs on the instrument, so we had to go to engineering and bring engineering in. The first time we went to engineering, engineering dropped the ball, didn't do anything. We went back, I found out that we hadn't gotten it done from engineering, so I went back, we got engineering now working with him, and we are working on our first prototype. We are also working on setting up a business for this particular faculty member. And we believe the best way to use this instrument is to develop it and sell it over the internet through a small company. We have others, we've developed instruments that just the market wasn't big enough to make sense. Give us time to work with you. Give us a chance. Now, we got about 12 minutes. Any questions on anything related to IP? Yes, ma'am. Yes.
But you still have to complete research?
Now, if you think, here's the thing that most people don't understand. You cannot patent an idea. You have to have taken that idea and proved the ability for that idea to work. And you have to what we call enable the idea. Once you have enabled the idea, that's when you want to get ready to move forward and file. Yes. Well, if it's working on a bench, but you haven't got it to the prototype stage, you want to file. Call us at the time that you think you have something that you have enabled, and we will help you make that decision. How's that? Any other questions? On anything? feel free to call me. I had a young lady sent me an email last night at 12:30. She said, Mr. Sparks, I'm an engineering student. I work in the ag school. I've got an idea. My faculty advisor said that I need to talk with you. When can we meet? I sent her an email back about 1:45 and I said, can we meet tomorrow afternoon? She sent me back an email and she said, you're the first faculty member that's ever called me back in the middle of the night. I said, well, I work late. We will meet with you. We will find a way to get, and we will come to you. We don't expect you to come to us. So Ariane and Rich are here at the Health Sciences, and their offices are here. I don't know where because I still can't find my way around here. I know Rich is in Glenn's office, so I can find it now. Ariane's I still can't find. But we're here, so call us. We'll come and meet with you. I'm trying also with the work with Dottie to get to do a presentation for your whole research group. So hopefully we'll get that set up soon also. Any other questions? We'll be here afterwards if you have any questions. My next meeting's not till 1:30, so if you have any questions, feel free to come up and talk to us. Thank you very much.